This is breaking news. IllinoisRecord.com list of rumored 2026 Illinois Republican governor candidates. The Illinois Record provides an overview of the top Republicans considering a run for governor by Max Rice, April 10th, 2025. With James Medrick's gubernatorial campaign heading in the same direction as Jussie Smollet's acting career, many hopefuls are lining up to enter the high-profile race for Illinois governor. The Illinois Record breaks down all other rumored Republicans aiming to run for governor in 2026. President Trump tweeted sloppy J.B. Pritzker, the rotund governor from the once great state of Illinois, who makes Chris Christie look like a male model, and whose family wanted him out of the business because he was so pathetic at helping them run it, has presided over the destruction and disintegration of Illinois at levels never seen before in any state. Crime is rampant, and people are sadly fleeing Illinois. Unless a change is made at the governor's level, Illinois can never be great again. Richard Porter, appointed as a special assistant to President George H.W. Bush. Attorney Richard Porter has spent decades as a behind-the-scenes player in Republican politics. Portrayed by Christopher Wallinger in Impeachment: American Crime Story, Richard Porter was the fixer who spent 6 years probing and publicizing Bill Clinton's sex scandals, ultimately leading to his impeachment. More recently, Porter served as Illinois' RNC committeeman. Porter has flirted with a gubernatorial run for years but never pulled the trigger. That could change in 2026. Pictured here is Richard Porter supporting Richard Irvin for governor alongside Lynn O'Brien. Porter's support for liberal Richard Irvin could come back to bite him in a Republican primary. Porter has been appearing on local radio, tested the waters with potential allies, and published national op-eds on tariffs. All signs suggest he's seriously considering jumping in. Still, Porter is famously cautious. Even with a viable path to a primary win, he may sit it out, especially with J.B. Pritzker's advantages. Taxpayer money to buy state and local employee support, name recognition, 8-figure campaign funds, and an election-rated safe Democrat from the Cook Political Report. We've previously criticized Porter for cozying up to questionable Illinois GOP figures, but Porter's philosophy is to fund everyone, and he doesn't play favorites. His influence flows through steak dinners, front row Cub seats, and checks ranging from $500 to $10,000. Facebook Tom DeVore brags about Cubs tickets. My first game at Wrigley thanks to Richard Porter. In a state where a new washing machine costs more than most Republican organizations' bank accounts, Porter's largesse buys absolute loyalty that spans Republican ideology. He might be the only guy in Illinois who could get soon-to-be former attorney Tom DeVore and his nemesis, House GOP leader Tony McCombie, to come to back him in a primary. Richard Porter with State Rep Tony McCombie. My buddy Richard Porter and I back at it again this year. Facebook Tom DeVore with Richard Porter. House Republican leader Tony McCombie left has been sued by Tom DeVore over social media access. Porter says he's uniting the party. We might say he's enabling its losing corrupt culture. Either way, his Chicago ties and polished presence, he's a former partner at Kirkland & Ellis. Make him a candidate who likely will not scare independent and Democrat voters who have haunted Republican statewide elections' hopes by creating a new stronghold in Cook and the collar suburban counties. In the Illinois Record's view, Porter's biggest threat is a Republican primary where Southern Illinois has an outsized influence, and most of the candidates are from the North. For Porter to emerge from the Republican primary, he must either dominate his home turf or hope the field gets crowded with multiple candidates with strong ties to Southern Illinois. Darren Bailey is a multi-generational Illinois farmer, former state senator, and founder of Full Armor Christian Academy, pre-K through 12. He's the 2022 Republican nominee for governor and a 2024 nominee for Congress against incumbent Mike Bost. This week, Darren Bailey was in D.C. looking for financial backing after speaking at the McHenry County Lincoln Day dinner and promoting his new book, Classic Signals He's Eyeing a Comeback. Pictured is Darren Bailey with Tom Weber at the McHenry County's April 5th Lincoln Day dinner, in which Bailey was the headline speaker. April 6th, Darren Bailey takes to D.C. to apparently seek big money supporters for a gubernatorial race. But he may need a new top donor. In 2022, Republican megadonor Dick Uelheim pumped more than $50 million into Bailey's campaign effort. $10 million directly to Bailey, and $42 million to the profit-run PAC, People Who Play by the Rules. Ulane demanded Dan Proft, not Bailey, control the spending, a setup that drew legal scrutiny and triggered a lawsuit over potential coordination. This time around, insiders say Ulane may focus on safer bets like local races or sit the cycle out entirely. Election officials to weigh whether Darren Bailey and GOP operative Dan Proft illegally coordinated. Capitol News, Andrew Adams and Hannah Meisel. Bailey still has real strength, statewide name recognition from 2 major campaigns, and likely support from pro-life organizations. But the vulnerabilities are just as real. Voter fatigue, scorched earth baggage from a bitter congressional primary with MAGA rep Mike Bosch, and the risk that old controversies like the quietly settled labor dispute with his teenage body man resurface at the worst possible time. Former Bailey staffer threatening to sue, and how Proft got involved. Bailey also knows what a governor's race costs and what losing a third time could mean. Still in a fractured primary field, Bailey has a path to win the primary. He's one of the few with the conservative brand, the base, and the campaign experience to run a statewide campaign. Aaron Delmar. Delmar made his statewide debut as Gary Rabin's 2022 running mate, but in Cook County, he's been a bureaucratic title collector for years. He served as a Rauner appointee to the State Highway Commission, chair of the Palatine GOP, 5th District State Central Committeeman, on-off again Illinois GOP co-chair, and the Cook County GOP chair. Of course, there's the $20,000 a year paid position as Palatine Highway Commissioner, which this month he controversially managed to hold on to by cutting deals with Palatine Democrats to run a mixed slate, avoiding election and securing a taxpayer-funded job many believe shouldn't even exist. We've reported on Delmar extensively, often highlighting his troubling connections to Soul Raper. What we haven't revealed is that a national journalist tipped us off, and that same reporter has since compiled information that could seriously damage Delmar's political ambitions, both here and elsewhere. Delmar's campaign could easily become the perfect piñata for Illinois Democrats to swing at, offering them a chance to deflect from their own record while using Delmar to paint Republicans as slimy hypocrites without values. The smart move for Delmar would be to write a book and slide into a comfy pundit gig next to his political mentor, Pat Brady, Chicago media's favorite Republican in name only, to opine on issues of the day. Still, Delmar has put in a lot of time, hundreds of hours at Lincoln Day events statewide, and likely would enjoy a year-long party, fundraising, and self-promotion tour that comes even close, even with losing gubernatorial campaigns. And there have been public hints that Delmar may forego basic risk management and run for governor. Aaron Delmar is back. This was Gary Rabin. Delmar is the best governor candidate in Illinois who can win Chicago in a primary. His LG candidate will be Christy, a total rock star from L to R, me, Rob, Roe, Julie, Christy, and Aaron. Do you know Aaron Delmar yet? Gary Rabin's now deleted Facebook post announcing that Delmar will be running with Christy. Gary Rabin recently let it slip online that Delmar is indeed running for governor, and with former Chicago lovable Christina McCloy as Delmar's lieutenant governor. Another clue came when Delmar announced a once-in-4-year fundraiser at his Palatine United Party running mate Andy John Kalkunis' steakhouse, a not-so-subtle hint toward a gubernatorial bid, given the race is held every 4 years. Aaron Delmar announces a once-in-every-4-year event. Facebook Andy John Kalkunis, former Dennis Hastert worker Mark Vargas, and Delmar. In 2022, Andy John Kalkunis controversially launched a culinary scholarship with his brother Stelia, who at the time was a convicted sex offender. In 2024, Stelia was indicted again, this time for child trafficking and producing child pornography as part of an apparent disturbing sophisticated operation. Delmar faces an uphill battle with the MAGA base after blaming Trump for January 6th, and striking a deal to run alongside far-left Palatine Democrats. He'll also draw fire from the Maha crowd due to his strong support for COVID vaccines. Suburban neocons may bypass him in favor of a more polished candidate like Richard Porter, especially if Delmar picks a Chicago Bulls cheerleader as his running mate. The pro-life lane, at least in theory, could be open to Delmar, but it's still a long shot. He now claims to be pro-life, but most groups in that space are more likely to rally behind candidates with a stronger anti-abortion record, like Darren Bailey or Gene Ivas. And religious organizations will likely hesitate to endorse someone who actively runs casino-style gambling events and once owned a site called soulraper.com with demonic imagery. Gene Ives was a highly active Republican state rep who remains a bona fide Illinois conservative celebrity thanks to her 2008 challenge to the unpopular Governor Bruce Rauner, where she came shockingly close to winning. Since her loss to Sean Casten in 2020 congressional race, Ives claims to dedicate 50 hours a week to her nonprofit, Breakthrough Ideas, which has been profiting her six figures annually. The organization seems to shift from one hot-button issue to another: pornographic books in schools, fentanyl, Mexican border, China, and now Doge. Breakthrough Ideas raises around $1 million annually, all while heavily promoting Ives' brand through a podcast and a sponsored spot on AM radio. We jokingly call her Jean DEI Ives, a nod to her acceptance into West Point right after they introduced affirmative action-like policies to admit women. While Ives since built a career criticizing DEI and other identity-driven agendas, she's managed to pull in millions of donations from people who already agree with her, but hasn't exactly expanded her appeal beyond that base. A political science aficionado, Ives likely knows she won't win, but that's not necessarily the goal. Running for governor could be an excuse to raise tens of millions of dollars, money she cannot spend and later donate to her nonprofit, Breakthrough Ideas, all while getting a years-long media tour that will be the equivalent of millions in earned media and will help keep her brand relevant. If Darren Bailey drops out, Ives could quickly secure pro-life endorsements, often the clearest indicator of who will win a contested GOP primary. And with obese billionaire J.B. Pritzker being a popular target of Republicans' angst, the primary winner could easily rake in over $100 million from passionate donors, creating a sizable financial ceiling for Ives to consider. Joe Severino. Lake Forest businessman and family man Joe Severino may have tipped his hand with a subtle Facebook photo update. He was floated on the Illinois GOP consultant podcast Smoke-Filled Room, and even his critics, like consultant Philippe Milla, admitted that if Severino ruins, he probably will not be insignificant. Severino would be the most Trump-like candidate in the field, perhaps the GOP's most effective political brawler. Severino combines raw facts with brutal Trump-style haymakers. He doesn't hold back, calling out a GOP official accused of groping teens who resigned, exposing a committeeman for following porn bots, highlighting a congressional candidate's ties to the CCP sale, and demanding Sheriff Mendrick take a lie detector test over his alleged hate crime hoax. Facebook Severino calls for James Mendrick to take a polygraph. Severino's attacks often go beyond what's considered normal policies, but they land because he usually spotlights politically relevant, uncomfortable truths. Facebook Severino calls out Democrat Congressman Brad Schneider over Deerfield police reports involving a sex worker. As a Trump-supporting religious pro-life Maha conservative living among rich neocons in the northern suburbs, Joe is well-positioned to connect with the diverse constituencies that shape a Republican primary. He could be a serious contender in a race that might not attract many serious candidates. Insiders say Severino's campaign promise is to put the Illinois Republican Party on trial. Given the party's parade of ethical lapses, corruption, and outright weirdness, we're not opposed to seeing that message spread across the state. Todd Ricketts is a board member at TD Ameritrade, former RNC finance chair under Trump, and most famously a co-owner of the Cubs who played a key role in ending the World Series drought. Ricketts is a religious conservative, wealthy businessman, Trump ally, everything you need to win a partisan primary. In a general election, Ricketts is one of the few who could incredibly compete with Pritzker's fundraising and name recognition. However, Ricketts has been silent so far. A brighter path to a general election. Wynn would be running for untrustworthy Republican Darren LaHood's safe Republican seat in the 16th district, but if Ricketts jumps in the 2026 gubernatorial race, he instantly becomes a frontrunner in the primary and a threat in the general. John Cabello, longtime Rockford police detective and multi-term Republican rep from Northern Illinois. Representative Cabello was the first Illinois elected official to endorse Trump for president in 2016, served on his victory committee. 2024, he came a few votes short of becoming the Illinois GOP chair. If the vote had been public, Cabello likely would have beaten Kathy Salvi easily, who recently told a crowd that she wears the phrase rhino as a badge of honor. But unfortunately, the Illinois GOP chair is decided by mostly corrupt or strange state central committeemen, and the 17 SCC members narrowly chose Salvi, who, despite frequent media appearances, still hasn't delivered a coherent sentence or an electoral win. Running for governor would mean giving up his House seat, which might give Cabello pause, but don't rule it out. Trump, who recently said the 2026 race is the last hope to save Illinois, could lobby one of the few elected Republicans in Illinois to fight Pritzker. Cabela, who is calling for the creation of an Illinois Doge committee, has constituents in critical collar counties, has messaged discipline, isn't afraid to be a MAGA Republican, would be on the short list. Kevin Warren. Kevin Warren is a devout Christian who often praises the Lord and credits faith as the foundation of every decision he makes. Former college basketball standout, Warren earned his law degree from Notre Dame, rose through the ranks in sports law to president of the Big Ten. He won praise from football fans for working with President Trump to save the 2021 college season and helped lead the Big Ten Conference's last expansion. Since 2023, Warren has been at the helm of the Chicago Bears, overseeing a fan-favorite rebuild, spearheading efforts to move the team from leasing Soldier Field to revitalizing former Arlington Racetrack into the Bears' new home stadium. While Pritzker has pushed back on Bears' requests for 30% state funding, some speculate Warren may respond to Pritzker in a big way by running for governor. There's talk of drafting him into the race, but Warren would have to step away from a promising 2025 Bears team. Though he's never publicly declared a party affiliation, his values and faith-first approach recognized in 2023 with the Tony Dungy Uncommon Award would likely resonate with GOP primary. And of course, don't be surprised if a local mayor, state senator, or outsider businessman jumps in. Illinois Record is ready to host a debate and will offer this platform to anyone who seeks higher office. Unless you fake a hate crime, then we'd really have to think about it. James Medrick still has not answered to the holes and inconsistencies in alleged hate crime hoax. And then these big strong men dropped a bullet on my lawn and screamed, "This is Antifa country." This is IllinoisRecord.com. Go to IllinoisRecord.com. Hope you enjoyed this audio breakdown of the list of rumored 2026 Illinois Republican governor candidates.